Hello, Brian from the channel Brian here, and welcome to this Halloween video. Literally, a video about Halloween. Michael Myers, the fictional character who hates running the most, does what he does best, stand around and stab people in Halloween. No, not that one. No, not that one either. Yeah, that one. This Halloween is from 2018 and is called Halloween, even though it is a sequel to the movie called Halloween. The Halloween made by the Dragula guy, which is of course the worst thing pen meeting paper ever created, was a reboot. But this is a spiritual successor. It's like Jurassic World, except this time they're trying to be scary, instead of just scary bad. Bazinga. Years ago when this film came out, I missed it, sadly, but I wanted to check it out before I saw Halloween Kills, so here we are. For some reason, Hollywood horror reboots are trying slightly harder than they were like a decade ago. Studios realized that audiences are actually expecting something from these movies, almost like the personality of the original franchise had something to do with the appeal, I don't know. And clearing out the clogged pipes of the Halloween timeline really does the series a few favors. But if they really wanted to commit to the bit, they should have named all the other sequels they're making just Halloween. Imagine a string of 4 sequels, all called Halloween. Figure the timeline out for yourself, dipshit. It's got all the things that you'd expect from a Halloween movie, but in a way that makes it something I'd watch only if I want the superficial parts of the original rearranged a little. It's a Goldilocks movie, trying to be just right in terms of functionality and fan service, be a horror slasher. And that's the same reason no sequel to Halloween could ever compare to it. That wasn't its goal. People look at Halloween as the game changer, the proto-slasher, the trendsetter. Halloween is just a movie John Carpenter made. At the time, it was considered highbrow. Roger Ebert compared it to Psycho. It was a phenomenal thriller before the word slasher ever hit the vernacular. So you have an atmosphere and set of ideas Carpenter's comfortably occupying with Halloween, simple ingredients polished to perfection. So simple that it ends up paling in comparison to its copycats when held to the formula they constructed. Further complicating things is the Halloween franchise starting to copy that formula too, leaving the original as the odd intellectual one out. The homogenization is coming from inside the house! And this reboot has the same problem. It is nowhere near atmospheric enough to be an appropriate companion to the original, but feels at odds with it as it tries to be its own unique slasher movie. Halloween in particular comes across scatterbrained with a host of formulaic characters and arcs that seem geared towards justifying its existence as a reboot. You have to re-establish Laurie and her arc, you have to establish Allyson's family and their arcs, Allyson and her friends, the podcasters, the deputy, the doctor. Also establish like 5 dedicated comic relief characters who all die in the same scene they're introduced, and somewhere in there you'll have Michael Myers killing people. Now don't get me wrong, I want scenes to have storytelling information in them, but it doesn't help that the attempts to establish character are so formulaic anyway. But ultimately, it's that obligation to constantly justify itself through overabundance that I don't enjoy. The obvious solution is not to reboot Halloween, but we got what we got. I do like the musical score, though. Carpenter coming back to do the music for this and Halloween Kills is wonderful. He gave us this noise, and my life was improved dramatically. And I'm not one to talk about how Halloween never works as a slasher because last year I sung the praises of Halloween 5 of all things. The movie is generally well polished as a result of its Goldilocks syndrome. The intro sequence is well done. When Michael's walking around killing people on Halloween, that's entertaining to watch. Jamie Lee Curtis was a good sport about coming back and doesn't phone it in. But conversely, I hate the twist with Michael's doctor being evil. It's such a forced way to get the climax started. Allyson and her little group are all stock and boring. David Gordon Green's comic relief is entirely ineffective except for the one little kid clipping his toenails. If it wasn't Halloween, this would be a typical mixed bag slasher movie. I could watch it again and not get upset. This is the franchise with The Curse of Michael Myers and Halloween Resurrection in it. I'd give Halloween a 10, but Halloween a 5. Far as I care, it's a win that this franchise broke even with this movie. But Halloween Kills. I expected Halloween Kills to be more of the same as the last movie. Michael survived, he kills some more people, hopefully it's good the end. Wait for another sequel in a year. Instead, we got Halloween Kills. What I liked in this movie is, Michael's mask? It seemed like a bunch of little decisions hinted at Michael being, I don't know, angrier in this movie. The half-burnt look does a lot to make him look more vicious. There's fire in the trailer, fire on the poster, fire in the credits sequence. I was ready for Halloween to enter its crispy era. It does not deliver. This might be the least crispy horror movie I've seen in years. You literally just had to coast on the success of the last Halloween movie, and you couldn't even do that. Spoilers! Halloween, the last one, had way too many spinning plates trying to justify its existence. Now imagine Kills slamming those plates on the floor and going home. There is absolutely nothing this movie does to suggest it's worth anyone's time. The story is, a mob of Haddonfield residents stumble around looking for Michael while the 3 generations of Strode women hang out at the hospital for 90% of the movie. They do literally almost nothing. This is the only Halloween movie that has both Laurie and Michael in it, where they never share a scene together. The trailer was edited to make it look like she's trying to pull off his mask here, but it is a completely different character doing this. But that's only half the issue. When tentpole movies get as bad as Halloween Kills, it's because there are structural issues that go beyond whether or not the genre elements are successful. The script, the dialogue is so bad. The lines in this film, it's non-stop clunker after clunker, and the delivery by most of the side characters is just awful. Even compared to the last one, I can't remember that many times I groaned at something the way I did basically every few minutes watching Kills. Laurie and Allyson and Judy Greer are sent to the hospital, where they stay for most of the film. And with the vigilante mob running around, it seems like they were trying to reincorporate plot similarities from Halloween's 2 and 4. But it was clearly an excuse to not need Jamie Lee Curtis to be in that many scenes. The structure is all over the place. Scenes are strung together with no discernible rhythm and all feel 30 seconds long, unless there's another minute tacked on of someone slowly investigating a noise that turns out to be Michael and he kills them. Like the shot of fire trucks driving past the Strodes in the movie is then followed by a hard cut to the burning house, edited exactly like the trailer. And the entire movie is that way. It's rushed and random. Whoever wrote this must have seen Rise of Skywalker and been like, I am gonna do exactly this with Halloween Kills. At least Halloween Kills is an appropriate title because people die in this movie, a lot. And if that's all you want, you'll get your fill. There's a scene where Michael stabs a guy in the back when he's leaned over like a kitchen island, and behind him there's a knife rack, so he turns around, grabs another knife, stabs him with it, and then does that over and over again until the knife rack is empty, and it was really funny. I think that was intentionally funny though, so good job for that one scene, I guess. Maybe in a better movie, these over-the-top kills would help give Michael an angrier edge, like I talked about earlier, but he himself is poorly utilized in all of the scare scenes. The build-up to him jumping out and scaring whoever he's about to kill is so clunky and tired. Even in the bad Halloween sequels, there's some kind of build-up with him lurking in the background before killing. That's a part of his personality, but Michael Myers in Halloween Kills could be any personality-free slasher killer. Here's one thing that's noticeably worse in this than all the other Halloween films: the fucking cinematography. Every other shot in this is a close-up on someone's face. You think back to Dean Cundy's camera work in the first movie, how great the framing was no matter where the scene was taking place. It contributed to the atmosphere by grounding you in a sense of location. The framing is so good in that movie, a lot of people don't notice that 30 feet away from our characters, there are no leaves on the ground. Halloween Kills saying "F it" and jamming the camera half a foot from everyone's face is claustrophobic and unappealing. Believe it or not, the way movies are shot actually helps them accomplish what their stories try to do. As this lynch mob traverses all of Haddonfield in search of Michael Myers, it is to this film's advantage that you are intimately familiar with its locations now more than ever. And speaking of the mob, the way they handle this aspect of the movie is the biggest example of Halloween Kills' negligent attitude towards its own ideas. These characters are all older versions of people who encountered Michael in the original. And believe me, there is no character too insignificant for them to turn up. Tommy Doyle, Lindsay Wallace, Marion Chambers, the doctor who was driving with Dr. Loomis, that incredibly memorable character. Lonnie, who was in one scene in the original and never encountered Michael, so they made one up for him in a flashback. And so much time is spent with these characters just for them all to end up the same. As the mob repeats, "Evil dies tonight, 40 years ago, Michael Myers, da-da-da-da," which is all these characters ever do. It's really repetitive. There's no difference in their motivation, their goals, their function in the story, their dialogue, and that they're all on-brand horror movie idiots. As the hysteria of catching Michael takes over their sensibilities and they do progressively dumber and dumber shit, it's like the writers are preemptively trying to put up a defense that this mob mentality is getting to their heads and clouding their judgment, as if the stupidity is the point or something. Which, no. You can't do that. That is a cop-out. And I'm not about to let you get away with it. There's a long, stupid, pointless sequence in which the mob is chasing another escaped mental patient who they think is Michael Myers. But this dude is like 5 feet tall and shaped like Danny DeVito in Batman Returns. And Michael Myers is a tall dude with old man rage. This other guy isn't even wearing a mask. Now Tommy Doyle has seen Michael with his own eyes. He should be able to tell that's not him. The chase begins at the hospital as it's super crowded. These people think Michael Myers somehow snuck inside the hospital without anyone recognizing him. The tall, mask-wearing, half-burnt psychopath with no self-control about murdering everyone he sees snuck into a crowd of people specifically looking for him. And you want to wave that all off as intentional because mob mentality, when all you had to do was cast a guy who has remotely the same body type as Nick Castle. Explain to me why you would write that if you don't think every audience member is a dumbass. I'll wait, legitimately, write a hate comment if you disagree, I dare you. Here is a list of the other stupid things these characters do. Allyson's boyfriend has Michael in point-blank range with a gun and still gets killed. Allyson has Michael in point-blank range with a gun and still gets her ankle broken. Lonnie leaves his son and Allyson in the car while he investigates the Myers house alone, despite bringing them along to help him kill Michael. He has a gun too, and he still gets killed. There's a lady dressed as a nurse who has Michael in point-blank range with a gun and still gets killed. And she doesn't just die. Michael, kicks a car door into her hand and makes her accidentally shoot herself. I can't wait for that to win the dull machete when Dead Meat does the kill count for this movie. You want to get mad at Laurie throwing away the knife in the first Halloween movie? Well, get a load of this. Judy Greer stabs Michael with a pitchfork, curb stomps him, and then throws the pitchfork away. Instead, she lures him out into the street so the mob can kill him instead of spending 5 more seconds jamming the pitchfork into his temples a few times. And when the mob finally has Michael dead to rights, you'd think they'd beat him so bad all that's left is a vaguely goopy pile of blood and bone chunks. But no, they hit him 12 times with bats and sticks and then are like, oh yeah, that should do it, and walk away. So when dumbass elderly Sheriff Brackett tries to do the world's slowest execution shot, it gives him the chance to grab his knife, kill the entire mob, and then he kills Judy Greer. So cool, alright? We spent the entire movie saying the same shit over and over, that these people want to kill Michael for 90 seconds of payoff, and then the movie's over. Oh wait, Laurie gives a speech like she's Optimus Prime about how Michael Myers' real weapon is fear. And not to argue, but I think the kitchen knife was doing a pretty good job. So, Halloween Kills. Yeah, didn't like it. I mean, I wanted to. I'd rather have a fun slasher movie when the alternative is not having a fun slasher movie. But Halloween Kills is like if you went bowling and had to hit 6 pins, but after you rolled the ball, there were suddenly 8. 3 out of 10. Happy Halloween. Do something you love. Watch movies that are good. Eat some candy. Kiss a pretty girl or a pretty boy or anybody you like. Drink some tea. Carve a pumpkin. Steal a pumpkin. But don't watch Halloween Kills.